Thank you very much. Mayor comments and general announcements, I have none this evening, so we'll move right into item C, which is public comment. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments on any of our regularly scheduled agenda items? Anybody in the audience that would like to speak to any of the scheduled items? All right, moving on into item D, which is the consent agenda. Deputy City Manager Robin Troyer.
Thank you, Mayor. Item 1 under the consent agenda is approval of the City Commission meeting minutes of November 21st, 2022. Item 2 is the acceptance of the Airport Advisory Board meeting minutes of September 8th. Item 3, acceptance of the Airport Advisory Board meeting minutes of October 13th. Item 4, acceptance of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority meeting minutes of September 13th. Item 5 is acceptance of the Economic Development Corporation meeting minutes of September 13th. Item 6 is acceptance of the Tax Increment Finance Authority 3 meeting minutes of September 13th. Item 7 is appointment to the Dial-A-Ride Local Advisory Council. Item 8 is confirmation of Mayor's appointment of Stephanie Roos to the Planning Commission. Item 9 is consideration of a resolution to exempt the city from provisions of Public Act 152 of 2011. Item 10 is temporary EMS agreement with Sugar Island EMS. Number 11 is consideration for the Economic Development Corporation to apply for the Rural Child Care Innovation Program. And item 12 is approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager. Would any commissioner like any of the items further explained or removed from the consent agenda for individual consideration? Seeing none, Commissioner Bauer. Mayor Pro Tem Bauer.
Thank you. So moved that we pass the consent agenda.
Support.
It's been moved and supported that we pass this consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Moving on, item F, which is communications. City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up first for commission discussion a little bit tonight is an update regarding the CARBIDE dock and Easter Day Avenue project. We had, just to give you an update on where we're at, we had a meeting with MARRAD staff, who is the granting agency for the build grant that we received 18, 19, somewhere around there. As the commission's aware, we've kind of hit some snags funding wise, so we had a meeting with the MARRAD staff to make a proposal on how to move forward, and the staff received it positively. There's one more review that has to be done at the Secretary of Transportation's office, and then we'll be able to know if we can move forward or not. But we have a PowerPoint. We just want to run you guys through real quick, talk about the plan. Bonnie, if you want to throw it up on the screen for me. I'll just kind of hit the highlights here and try to get more down into the strategy. So the project team that's been working on this has been led by David Boyle, Tracy Layton in the engineering office, Logan Schwitzler from staff engineer has been working on this as well as Kristen Collins, Tyler Perrin, and then our 2 consultants from Smith Group and C2AE. So for the newer commissioners that may not be familiar with the project, the CARBIDE dock, when we refer to that as a project, it's the reconstruction of the CARBIDE dock avenue and a portion of Easter Day Avenue. So just to kind of reference it a little bit, pull it on the map. So basically it's everything west of the slip here. You got the Seafree Center that's here now, but it doesn't show up on this map, but CARBIDE dock is in reference to everything east of the slip. Everything that Kokosin is doing is just kind of bonus work for us. But the original project scope is this whole section over here, as well as Easter Day Avenue from Portage Avenue to Ashman Avenue. So this whole stretch of Easter Day Avenue would be reconstructed with new utilities, new sidewalks, all the fun stuff that goes with it. So that's the project that we have been working on. This whole screen has changed, sorry. Alright, so importance of the project. We all know the importance of the project. This was kind of our sales pitch to the MARRAD staff, just to remind them of the significance for the project with us. Major port for tourism, the shipping industry, key resource for the Sulaks project, and then a key economic development hub for future supply chain logistics or further development activities. Kind of the key supporters that we have on this project are listed out on this slide. They include everything from state and federal elected representatives to the local tribe, to the federal agencies, certain associations and businesses around shipping and cruise lines. So, for the commissioners that weren't aware around during this process, we did bid the project out in 2021. At that time, we received 2 bids back. The CARBIDE portion was about $30 million. The other bid was about $26 million. For Easter Day, we received 2 bids for $13 million and $10 million. So the 2 low bids for the project was $37.5 million, to which we only had about $23 million in funding at the time. So our funding gap at that point was $14.5 million. Dave and the engineering staff and the engineering consultants went through and value engineered the project to try to reduce that gap. We got it down about another $5 million. If you want to talk about just some of those changes, not necessarily the cuts, but some of those changes.
Yeah, so what we did is we got with the contractors on both sides, the ones that bid, the ones that didn't bid, we just kind of feel them out for what they thought were things that we could change. So the big ones on the dock was that we moved the seawall out 5 feet into the river more, so that we could put the sheet pile wall in first and then come back and demo the top. So that was a big savings for us there. On the road part, we changed some of the pavement structure. We're not putting in so much sand and gravel. This time we're using geotech, like geowebs and geogrids in there instead of putting in sand and gravel. And we changed some of the sanitary sewer alignments at the intersection and stuff, so we came up with but most of the savings we got was at the dock and the seawall.
Yep. So we managed to bridge the gap about $5 million. We just rebid the project this summer, late this fall. This time around, we received 3 bids for the CARBIDE dock, lowest one being 21.7, and we received 3 bids for the Easter Day truck route, lowest one being about 10.6 million. So the total project is about 32.3 million now. And what we still have as funding is about 23 million. And we put in a lot of applications and a lot of different grants. All in all, about this year, we put in about 17 different funding opportunities. Everything from state, county, federal. We've asked the U.S. representatives for appropriations, asked our state elected officials for appropriations. We discussed the project with the local tribe. And this is all the work that we did since last November. So we've got about 27.2 million secured, and we're looking at about another 17 million in active grants that we have out there. We should know on those funding opportunities within the first quarter of the year. So we're still pursuing it. Just go a little bit more about some of our funding pursuits here. Again, we went after appropriations. We resubmitted the grant to the EDA. We've got a Spark grant in there that the commission approved a month or so ago. We're going after Eagle Brownfield money to help us in the demolition and remediation costs with it. And we have a USDOT rural grant in there for about $3.3 million. We were able to score a Eagle Shore Power grant, about $1 million, probably would be a little bit more, to electrify a lot of the different areas within the CARBIDE dock, but that doesn't reduce any cost. It was extra work, extra funding, kind of a nice to have for the section. So this one doesn't go towards the overall cost. So what we have, just as a recap in terms of funding for the project, about $20 million or so for MARAD, that's the big build grant. Michigan DNR has put in about $300,000 for Alfred Park. MEDC and MDOT is put in about $1 million apiece, and I believe those were appropriations from the state officials as well. City contribution, we're looking at about $1.2 million. A lot of this will come from our Fire Day. It is. From our ARPA allocation from the federal government. So we've been holding on to some of that money. We got about $1.4 million from the federal government. we've been kind of holding off on doing anything with it because we figured we would need some of the money for this project. So there's a couple of projects that have some monies earmarked by the commission for them, and the remainder will be put into this Carbide dock project with commission authorization, which will come at a later time. We're also looking at possibly doing a road loan of about $3 million to help bridge the gap on the Easterday Avenue project. This wouldn't necessarily be a bond. We may be able to do an inter-agency kind of loan, similar to what we've done in the past for the Polar. Thank you. That's the So these items will come to the commission at a later time, but this is just kind of our plan and how we want to move forward. Just to kind of highlight where costs have been, usually when we put in a grant application for a project such as this, we pad it to a certain extent because we anticipate funding 1 year and construction in another year. So we include some extra funds for
I joined Uber One because
and usually they hit about 3%. You see the blue line here is where it has been historically an average, sometimes a little bit higher, sometimes a little bit lower. But we put the grant application in about 2018, 2019. You can see it dipped off a little bit, but the construction cost increases for 2021 have gone up about 8%, 2022 about 6.5%, and then we're anticipating that increase. So part of our story that we told MARAD to kind of put a little bit of a burning platform underneath of them was that we want to move on this project now, because if we do secure funding, we're just going to be short again, because the way the costs have been going on all these projects. So we've been working on that. So our big ask to MARAD was taking a phased approach. At one point, they weren't really too keen on that, but we really are kind of pressed for time and some other issues. So kind of why we're looking at the phased approach. So we bid the projects this fall. They're good for 90 days. Easter Day's bids expire on January 12th. Carbides expire on January 26th. If we want to move forward with those bids, they would have to be to the commission at the January 3rd meeting, and then the Carbide would have to be at January 16th. So there is a time clicking on those bids before they expire. They're no longer good. We're trying to move this along so the contractors can order the materials. They got price locks. That's only going to be good for so much amount of time, and we want to make sure they can get them. Like I said, inflation, construction costs have been going up. Sheet pile has gone up. It fluctuates a little bit, but it's gone up. Pipe material, even talking to Kirk Twos in the water department, it's impossible to get a lot of pipes for the underground systems at this point. So we want to make sure that we're getting our orders in for these materials so that when we do go to construct, we have them on hand, we're ready. Contractors got to commit resources and personnel. We don't want them going out and finding other projects. We want to make sure we get them going. And then the grant itself expires 2025. September 2025. So we want to make sure we're taking advantage of the construction season that we have, because they're typically short. So we really only got 2 construction seasons to do this big project, and it's going to take about 2 construction seasons. And then we got permit and grant schedules that we have to adhere to as well. So how are we going to do it? We want to award the contracts to the bidders as they're designed. So the Easterday Avenue, we would like to bring to the commission for approval at the January 3rd meeting. And the Carbide one, at the following one, January, I say 16th, like that. With those contracts, when we bring them to the commission, we will have a memorandum of understanding with the contractors. And Dave and the staff has been working with the contractors on what these MOUs mean. And basically, they're going to start working on the core elements of the projects and foundations. And then as we get more funding, we will add those back into them. So we're not necessarily cutting out elements, we're just going to have to phase them until we get some more grant funding coming in there. As we do that, we'll continue to pursue funding. Like I said, we have a number of them still out. We should hear back in the first quarter. A lot of the grants that we put in for consideration that we'll know on first quarter next year were ones that agencies recommended us reapplying for. So we applied once, we got some feedback on them, and then we're reapplying for it. There'll be a change order as we move forward. As we get more funding, we'll have change orders from the commission to approve to put certain elements back into the projects. And then our overall goal is to complete the project as designed, as bid, within the time frame that we have. So, we'll turn it over to Dave, he'll talk about some of the phasing on the CARBIDE dock, and then a little bit of the phasing on Easter Day Avenue project.
Yeah, so for the carbide dock, the big thing is put the seawall in. So anything else after that is kind of open game. So, but what we're looking at is items that would go really late in the construction, you know, like paving or sidewalks or things like that. So in the carbide, we're looking at all the sidewalks, we're looking at the asphalt in the cargo area, concrete curb and gutter, some of the amenities that are going to be along the river, the fencing, the overhead structure that we're going to have down there to split the cargo area from the park area. And then we're also looking at substituting some of the plantings to try to get the monies down. On Easter Day, we did, on that one we did have 3 bid alternatives, and we're gonna exercise all 3 of those. That gives us 800 grand right there. Then we did some value engineering with the contractor, some stuff like sanitary sewer pipe, reinforcing, and then switching aggregates. So that gives us about 100,000, and then some of the elements that we're going to leave out of that one for now would be the milling and resurfacing of Ord, and then the 4 and 6 inch sidewalk. The sidewalks are almost $1 million in this contract, in the Easter Day thing, so it's a big chunk of money.
So that's kind of our strategy moving forward. We think it's doable. Like I said, MARRAD staff, they were positive they were open to our phased approach. The last step, like I said, it's got to go to the Secretary of Transportation's office for their sign off. But they're trying to turn around as quickly as possible. Part of that involves our discussion with Senator Stabenow's office tomorrow, which is going to make sure they're up to speed on it, and if they can have any push in our favor within that office as well. So that's all we really have. What do you think, Bonnie? So is there any questions or anything regarding the project?
Any questions for city manager or city engineer?
All right.
So we're expecting to hear back prior to January.
Prior to January, correct.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thanks for the information and for all your hard work. We will move on into item G, which is business items. Number 1, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next on the engineering show tonight, we have a contract for drainage work along the M129 project. As the Commission is aware, there is a road construction project on M129, starting with inside the city limits going out into the county. This particular contract adds on some infrastructure work that the city needs done to it, mostly water and drainage associated. So there's 2 motions to this one. Motion to approve resolution authorizing the manager to sign MDOT contract and establishing the budget for the city's portion of the work in the amount of $878,200.
Okay, anybody have any questions for city manager or city engineer on this project? Seeing none, I think I skipped you, Commissioner Marble last time, so if you'd like to make the motions. There are 2 separate motions.
All right. Motion to approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign MDOT contract 22-522 for the rehabilitation work on M129 and corresponding city utility work.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. The second motion, Commissioner Marble.
Establish a budget for the city's proportion of the work in the amount of $78,200,000. With funding process to come from water capital, oh Jesus, I need my glasses. Reservoirs and ARPA funds.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Any questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passed unanimously. Thank you very much. Under G, business items, number 2, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is request to approve a contract for associated work associated with the Ashland Street mill and overlay next summer from Power Canal to Portage Avenue. So this particular project is a mill and overlay that's funded by the state. Staff is looking to have the brick pavers removed and filled in with a high-vis crosswalk. Bonnie, if you want to throw it up on the screen real quick, I'll just show you what we're looking at here. It's not the best picture, but it's best I can find on Google. So we take out all the brick pavers along that particular stretch of road. It would be filled in with concrete or asphalt, whatever the case may be, and then topped with these high-vis crosswalks. So that's kind of what you would see in the downtown. We feel that's a better technique for the downtown versus the brick pavers. Brick pavers have a lot of maintenance associated with them. They don't last in the winter community. And we feel that this would be a safer alternative for the downtown, especially at night or in the fall when it's wet. So the work associated, Bonnie, the work associated is primarily funded by MDOT, but we're adding on the removal of brick pavers and the installation of the high-vis. So we have 2 motions for this item. Motion to approve resolution authorizing the manager to sign the MDOT contract, and a motion to create the budget for the project, $60,000 with funding 10 from the DDA and 50 from gaming.
Thanks, City Manager. Anybody have any questions or comments on this one? Sure. Commissioner Boston's rep.
I really like this idea, even though the bricks were pretty, but they weren't that feasible with our winters and whatnot. So I really like that they're gonna redo the crosswalks and have the lines, and then that we're jumping on MDOT's already gonna do some stuff, so I like this idea.
Commissioner Busta?
I also appreciate the high visibility crosswalks and dedicated crosswalks. I'm wondering if if there's a possibility to refer back to the city in administration results in reference to recent events, the possibility of additional lighting or crosswalk marking, lighted crosswalk marking.
So we did do kind of a safety walkthrough a number of months ago. We have representatives from engineering, fire, police, public works, zoning, maybe? No, you weren't there? All right, well, people that are kind of around the roads. We did do a safety walkthrough. Our biggest challenge is that that section of road is controlled by MDOT, and they're not real keen on adding additional signage or blinking lights or anything like that. We can look to do more high vis in the future in other sections of the downtown, but when it comes to any additional signage or any additional lighting, we're kind of at the will of MDOT, and they typically don't like that stuff because there's an argument that if you put up too many signs, it all becomes white noise and doesn't really do its intended purpose. So realistically, the only way to make people more have people be more attentive while they're driving is to do the high cross vis or changes to the physical design. That's why we have road bump outs in certain section that typically slows vehicles down and the drivers pay a little bit more attention. So I guess the short of your question is that we're bound or we're limited what we can do because of MDOT, and we have pursued those conversations with MDOT, and it just wasn't received favorably.
Thanks, Commissioner. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Commissioner Habusta, would you like to make motions? There are 2 separate motions on this item.
Motion to approve a resolution authorizing the city manager to sign MDOT contract number 225444 for the construction on Ashland Street as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments on this item? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Commissioner Busta, the second motion.
Motion to create a budget for the project of $60,000 while funding $10,000 from the DDA and $50,000 from gaming.
Support.
As motion and support, any questions or comments?
I have a question.
Sure, Commissioner Busta.
Can you explain the additional funding allocated there for engineering?
So the 60,000, that's what you're referring to, correct?
Correct.
So the $60,000 is the cost to remove the brick pavers, fill in that space, and then install the high-vis crosswalks. So the DDA, having this be a downtown project, kind of safety initiative, we went and asked them for some money. They contributed $10,000, and then the rest of it will come from our gaming reserve, about $50,000. And just for the new commissioners, we receive a portion of funding from the local tribe as part of their 2% funding requirement. They have to give some funding to the local municipalities. We typically stick that funding right into a project budget or a special revenue account, and we hold on to it for projects such as this. So we don't use it in our operations. It's strictly used for projects.
I guess what I'm asking, Brad, is it looks like there's an additional $17,000 to cover additional engineering costs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Dave will take it.
Thanks.
Okay, so usually with these MDOT contracts, we pay the amount for the construction, but they charge us 5% for engineering. So we have to budget for that too. So their engineering is oversight and management and stuff like that. So
Typically, if it was a local road and we didn't have an MDOT project on it, our staff would do the engineering and the construction management, unless it was a real big project like a CARBIDE dock or Easter Day. But this one is being farmed out.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and supported. Any more questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Both motions passed unanimously. Thank you. G, business items number 3, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Up next for commission consideration is a request to authorize a contract between the city and Oxcart for a permit software system. Long story short, we are seeking out a new software system that'll streamline our process for approving permits. A number of municipalities locally and across the state have switched to Oxcart, and it's kind of the preferred vendor for this. Included in the item is the fees. It is a pass-through fee, so if you're applying for a permit, you will be paying the fee directly to Oxcart. Our portion of the fee will come to us, and then Oxcart will retain their fee. So just looking to be more streamlined, a little bit more efficient for our customers and staff. So we will look for a motion to authorize the city to utilize Oxcart permit systems for processing transportation-related permits.
Thanks, City Manager. And any questions or comments? Commissioner Bostis Rapp.
Just a quick question, so if somebody wants to opt out of the online system, can they do that, or do they have to go to the Oxcart?
I am going to hand that one to Logan, our staff engineer. This is kind
Hi,
of his
Logan.
baby.
All Logan.
So, yes, I will retain PDF copies of transport permits, but for the most part, I don't have it on the website and I'm readily available, just because it kind of meets the purpose.
Thank you very much.
Can you get him to spell our name correctly on the brochure? All right, anybody else have any questions or comments on this item? Mr. Rubenstein, would you like to make a motion?
Motion to authorize the city to utilize Oxcart permit systems for processing transportation permits.
It's been moved and supported. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passed. Thank you very much. Moving on into 8, city manager announcements and updates. City manager.
Not too much for the commission tonight, just a reminder, city offices will be closed December 26th and January 2nd for the holidays. And I had some time off planned, but it all got changed, and I will update you in an email when I figure out what we're doing for the holidays, so. That's all I have for now.
All right, very good. Anybody have any questions for the city manager?
I do.
Sure, Mr. Bauer.
Yes, I'm wondering if we're going to be treated to a year-end report at the next meeting, as is customary.
No, because the year
Half
won't
the
be
year.
over. So much can happen the last 2 weeks of December. We'll get you guys one in January, if that's okay.
It's okay by me.
Sure, Commissioner Ross is right.
This might be more for the DDA, but the ball drop for New Year's Eve, is that?
Good question.
Great.
I just wanted to put that on the radar.
I will follow.
It is happening.
Yes?
Okay. Oh.
You should be at every
Wonderful.
meeting, so we know permits are
Awesome, thanks.
All right, so there will be a ball drop on New Year's Eve. More
Or
information
possibly an
to come.
anchor drop.
Or anchor
like
drop.
last year.
Yes, sorry, yeah.
I don't know if it's, I don't know which one it is, but I'm just saying, possibly an anchor drop.
Good point, yeah,
Something's
something
gonna
will drop.
We'll drop something.
Great. Any other questions for the city manager?
We could drop a big white hat, Commissioner Barnes.
Sure, why not? Let's do a sombrero.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. Matters presented by the public. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make any comments at this time in the meeting? Anybody in the audience? Seeing none, we'll move into City Commission. J, matters presented by the City Commission. Any comments? Sure, Commissioner Rubenstein.
Just a quick reminder, and City Manager Chapman, correct me if I say something wrong here, regarding pets and leashes. City staff did a good job of pushing out info about pets and leashes in public spaces. But just a reminder, it is also our responsibility as pet owners, even though there's no specific law or ordinance for on your private property, to make sure you keep your pets from leaving your private property. So however you do that, whether it be a leash or a fence, just a reminder to keep everyone safe and keep your pets safe too. So just a reminder.
Creeping around my house, see I got a new dog?
Exactly.
Anybody else? Any comments on this past weekend's events? Commissioner Boston.
I wasn't gonna say that, I was just gonna say that this Saturday is Small Business Saturday downtown, so come on out downtown again. And also, just because it's the holiday and it's the season of winter and winter is long, make sure you check on your neighbor. You know, if you don't see somebody out for a while, go to their door, knock on them, see if they're doing okay. Just, you know, small town feels right now, so that's all.
Good comments? Sure, Commissioner.
I would just like to say that the downtown area looks absolutely beautiful. They did a great job doing it.
Good comment. Certainly thanks to Park Race Hardware on the parade that we had a couple weeks ago. It was excellent. Also like to give kudos to the committee that puts on the Matterville for the hospice. It was a fantastic event. All 3 nights were great, and certainly we are blessed as a community to have hospice here, and I think the only hospice in the state of Michigan that offers their services for free for the users. So thank you to all that support hospice. Any other comments, questions? Commissioner Bauer, would you like to make the final motion?
I would, Your Honor. I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Support.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.